Hello everyone, welcome to this C++ programming session. Today we are going to talk about quite good numbers, how we can actually code a quite good numbers program in C++. This type of programming question is almost given with many of the courses that are related to the C++ programming for the beginners in many universities. And I found that most of the people started looking for the solutions online. So more every solution to this problem, quite good numbers, which is present online, is basically a paid solution. So let's try this one. If it is uh, here I have a problem statement, a perfect number. Copy this statement just to test that the solutions are okay. A solution is available on check. It's a paid thing, and on mm, w3 resource. uh, w3 resource basically provides a solution how we can actually check whether the given number is a perfect or not, but not provide the solution of all this task. So if you want to see this, we can go to the check, and this shows, this represents the complete this task description. Solutions, mostly solutions, almost all the solutions which are available online are paid. So I am going to make this video where I'm gonna code the whole program, and obviously the video is free for you people too. So I think we should not wait for this thing to get executed. Okay, so yes, task a perfect number is an integer that is equal to this. So this whole thing is actually this thing. A perfect number is an integer that is equal to the sum of this. So these are the paid solutions. This is just a demonstration that the solutions are paid. So let's get rid of this one and let's move out to this. Okay, I'm not gonna read the whole task, because if you are watching this video, that means you already got this task to solved and you're stuck. So I'm not gonna read the whole description here. The task is, your task is, so your task is to write a C++ program, okay, that determines numbers within a designated maximum badness. So there will be a maximum badness that are less than a limiting value. There will be another parameter that is a limiting value, and the limiting value and badness are provided as command line arguments. Okay, so basically we need to write a C++ program where the user will enter two arguments. The first one will be the badness or a limit value, and the second one can be the badness or a limit value, but both the two parameters will be badness and limiting value. Now we can actually give these command line arguments through Clion editing by editing the build configuration. So I will do the both things. I will pass the command line arguments through my terminal and execute the program, and then I will go to edit the build configuration and set the parameters. So uh, you should know how both things actually work. So let's move to the Cillian thing. All right, so let's start with a new project, and the project will be um you no not okay. It's a YouTube quite good number. Okay, I think we should choose quite good number. That's CGN, right? And let's create a project. So here we have our, so this is the basically Cillian framework. Close, don't show me tips. Okay, so here we have our project and this is our main file. So let's start working with the main file, right? Okay, so what we're gonna do, first thing first, if we are going to accept arguments whenever we need to write a C++ program, where we should have the arguments passed to our main function. We should have parameters here. The first one is, that is argument count, and it should be, sorry, integer argument count. Another one is a character constant argument vector. This parameter will let us know how many arguments we have passed, and this parameter will actually store those arguments in an array. Let's move here. Okay, now we're gonna start our program. So first of all, we said that we will have two parameters, that are limit and int badness. Got it? Now what I'm gonna do this, we need to assign the value to limit from the given arguments which are stored in argument v vector. How we can get value from argument v vector and pass it to this limit? So make it a constant int. Okay, so what we're gonna do is equal to, if the argument count is greater than 1, all right, if argument count is greater than 1, and do, okay, this is a function, ATOI function, which is actually used to convert a string literal to integer value. We need an integer value here, but the values stored in this argument vector are basically string literals. So if we passed, for example, 15 as a limit value, the argument, the 15 stored in argument vector will be a string literal. But if we assign that string literal to limit, it's gonna put error because this is of type int. So we use ATOI from standard library header. The purpose of this function is that it converts a string literal to its original integer value. So we call this function and give the argument vector of 1. Now why? Okay, we gonna give two arguments, the limit and the badness. The first one will be the limit, but we use the index 1. The array starts from index 0. We cannot call 0 here because the argument vector, the 0th index of argument vector will contain the name of the output file. Okay, so you should ignore the argument 0th index. So whatever we gave to this argument vector as a first argument will be stored in our argument index I. This whatever is in this index will be converted to an integer value and then will be assigned to the limit. Okay, if argument count doesn't okay, we should put a limit there, like it says in the task here it says that for this level you can assume that the limiting value will not exceed this. So if we want to restrict the user, that if you entered a value greater than greater than 10,000, the limit will not accept that value and we will assign a default value. So for the default value, what we're going to do is we're going to put this operator and then put this one, right? So this is basically how this represents that the first argument the user assigned or provided will be assigned to this limit value. Similarly, we're going to do the stuff with the badness thing. And what is it? That if the argument count is greater than 2 now, all right, because it will be the second argument. If this is the case, and what you're going to do is call this function and argument vector, whatever is stored in 2 will be passed here. And if, now again if y, because it says that, it says, okay, it doesn't say anything, but let's assume we have a default badness value. Okay, so the default badness value is 10. If the user didn't pass any argument, a second argument, the second argument will be the default value, then that is a 10, right? So we pass it like this one. So what saying is saying that this much this must match this thing, and I think we have extra this line. This isn't the extra line. This should be okay. We should this one too, right? So for now we have taken two arguments from the user through this thing, and we put those arguments, command line arguments, to our both variables. All right, now we have this thing done. Now there is a code for a quite good number, and I'm not gonna explain all the code for the quite good number, because the code how we can check a quite good number is already already available on Google. There are many websites like we go through this one. Okay, I close that one, the W3 resource. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna paste that code here. So for now, what we're gonna do, because we have to iterate from the numbers, so we say that there is a number which will start from 2 basically, because 1 is already one is already a factor of every number, so we start from the 2, and then we put a number till it reaches my limit. Okay, and then we're gonna do the increment thing, go there, and in first for loop I'm gonna have a sum equals 1, because for quite good numbers the sum is important. And why it's important? It's important because this thing, as a quite good number, says that a quite good number is an integer whose badness and size is the sum of its divisors. So we need to have sum of divisors. So initially I initialized sum with 1, and now we want to search for the factors. So we have a factor here which starts from 2 again, and then we're gonna move. Okay, I am directly coding an efficient code right here. Okay, and the efficient code will be factor static factor less than equal to a number. And another thing we're gonna do for factor plus plus. So what we're gonna do in this for loop is we're gonna check whether the given number is actually a factor of that number we have provided. So we're gonna find a number mod of factor. Now if this gives me a 0, then execute my other part, and that part is, first of all, add my sum and factor. Okay, if that number is a factor, then add it into my current sum. So it will keep on doing this, but whenever the sum the factor will be added in a sum, we're gonna check if. Now this if actually makes a code efficient. If you don't write this if as stated in this one, the level 4, it says extend the program so that it work efficiently up to value 1 million. If you don't add this if statement, and if you simplified this condition, whenever you pass the value of 1 million, the program gonna stuck. Okay, so for large numbers you need to put an if statement. Now what's in it in the if statement is, if we say that if static factor is not equal to the number itself, then go and do my sum plus equals, what do we add? Number divided by factor. Add this thing in my existing sum. Done. We are done and we are dusted. So we are out of this if, we are out of this if, and here is our first for loop ending statement, right? So after this, we're going to write if the number is greater than equal to sum minus badness, whatever our sum and badness is, and there is a logical operator, and the number is less than equal to sum plus badness. I'm not gonna explain how I'm coding all this, because all this is actually, the inner part is available online, but how we can compile this whole thing and complete this assignment, this isn't available anywhere online. So the inner code is already available with explanations and everything, and if you want me to explain this line by line, a complete video on how what are quite good numbers, what are the benefit of quite good numbers, how we can calculate that, all this type of stuff, how we put conditions there, if you want that, the first recommendation is go to the Google, because everything is already available there. What I am doing here is a compilation of different chunks and make a solution of this whole assignment, right? Because this assignment solution is not available there. So still, if you need me to clarify all the things, you can drop a message, drop a comment in a comment section. I will make another video where I'm going to explain each and everything, that why I have chosen factor, static factor in the condition, what does number percent factor means, each and everything, right? But for now, let's just walk through it, because all of this is available online. So if this is the condition, if this condition matches, just simply see out my number, because the thing is, we need to print the numbers with this thing. Done. Then this number will be a quite good number. So a program will get executed, and every time if it reaches in this condition and it passes the if, it will print us that particular number, and that number will be a quite good number. Here we're gonna return 0. Okay. Now here is the thing. The thing is, if I go there, if I run this one, it's gonna say me that cout, okay, that cout isn't like this one. Okay. Okay, so there must be a cout. Okay, and we should go there and change it to this one, right? It's the Clion thing. And then we execute it again. Okay, the program gets executed and you got all the numbers here, right? 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 11, 12, 14, 15. Why you got all this? Because these are the default parameters. We haven't passed any arguments yet. Now, your program is done. All you need to do is, okay, what's done here? First of all, small perfect number. It says if we pass the parameter quite good 100, this is the limit value, and consider badness is 0. Okay, now how we can check whether we are done with this level 1 thing or not? So I would recommend you to go to the terminal, list, there is Clion projects, ls, there's, you see here, okay, let me just change its color. Yes, let me change its color to this one, so you can actually see this. Okay, so here we have this cgn, and this cgn will be cd cgn. Okay, it says quite good number. It's actually qgn, sorry. So cd qgn ls. Here we have our main.cpp file. Got it? So how we can actually compile this thing? We're gonna call our compiler g++, Then we're gonna call main.cpp. You get this? It's get compiled. Okay, now we get ls. There is a file named a.out. This is the file where where our output is stored. So we call this thing like this, a.out. Now here is a thing. If I click this one, I'll get the same answer that I get here, 2 3 4 5 6 into 2 3 4 5 6, because no arguments, command line arguments are passed. And if we don't pass the arguments 10 and 1000, these two are opted as a default arguments. Now let's see if I pass the arguments 100 of, 100 as a limit instead of 10,000, and I'm not gonna pass second argument. The second argument again will be chosen as 10. So enter. You see, we have now quite little lesser numbers than all this, because the first argument is from the user side and the second it opted for the second argument, that is a default value. Let's try if I pass 0 as a badness value. So if I pass 0 as a badness value, it says that if you pass quite good 100, the limiting value is 100 and the badness is 0, there should be only two numbers. So let's try. If this 100 and this, so I have only two numbers, 6 and 28. So that means we are done with the level 1 thing. All right. Now check whether the level 2 thing. It says that now you need to pass second command line arguments. All right. So I have already passed this thing, because if I pass is 3 and the answer is 2 3 4 till 64, and here 2 3 4 till 64. So we are already done with setting two arguments. Now let's talk about the large numbers. It says that if you pass these arguments, the result should be this, and it should be no time. Okay, so let's try with 1 2 3 4 5 6 with one badness. We click on this, we wait for a few seconds, just a second, and here we got the numbers. All right, so the numbers are from 2 to 5 to 4 6 to 8, and from 2 to 5 to 4 to 88. So we are done with the three things too. Now here comes the fourth level. It says extend the program so that the negative badness value causes the program to output a count of quite good numbers. That means if I give this as -1, the result should not be the list of these numbers. The result should be simply, for example, if I have 100 with a, okay, if I put 100, there are, okay, let's change this thing a little bit, of not to 10 to 0. That is a default thing. Okay, so what we're gonna do is we need to recompile this thing, and then if I put 100, there are only two numbers. The level 4 says if I give -1, currently I'm getting no output, because -1 is not a base value for the badness. But the fourth level says if I pass a first argument as a limit value and second as -1, the output should be 2, because we have two numbers. All right, so for that, let's change a little bit of program, and that is whenever we comes in a main program, we're gonna do one thing, and that thing is if. Okay, if there will be some condition in if, and on the basis of that we're gonna execute the code. Now the if condition is this: if the second argument is -1. All right, so we're gonna see, first we need to include string.h, because we're gonna work with the strings now. And here I'm gonna call a string comparison function. The first one will be argument vector index 2 equal, and the second will be, right, we're gonna declare a character array, which will be Okay, we can not actually do this thing. Let's just put -1 here and equal 0. If I call the string comparison function that compare whatever the value stored, this is equal to this. If the result is 0, the string comparison function will give return back 0 if uh, uh, there is a comparison, there is a true statement, right? So if string comparison of whatever I stored as the second argument equals to -1, if this condition passes, so do what? Do this thing. Take int as my limit, and limit should be my argument vector. Sorry, it should be argument vector. Obviously, the first one will be the limit. That is a pretty straightforward thing. And then I'm gonna call my badness, which will be a hard-coded thing, right? Another one, I'm gonna have a count now, which is starting from 0 right now. Got it? Then we can write the same code again, here. Well, the best practice which I forgot here, we can make a function of all this. So that we do not have to copy paste the code here again, but let's consider this as it is what it is now. So we have a for loop which starts from number, and number will be 2, and the number will be checked, and it should be less than my limit value, and number plus plus. What we're gonna do here is we're gonna integer sum equals sum equals 1 initially, and then we're gonna enter our second loop, that is where we have integer of factor which starts from 2, and we have factor static factor 2, and factor static factor, where is the static? Come on, factor static factor is less than our number and factor plus plus. So our second loop states okay, this is nothing new. This is basically this same code. So I'm not just copy pasting this thing, because it will give me an error that these numbers are already defined. You are duplicating the definition. So I'm just changing the parameter, the variable names here right now, but else it's nothing new. So we are in the second loop, and we're gonna say if our number is this of f and equals 0. If this condition matches, then go there, and plus equals our factor, right? There's another condition, and that condition is if our f steric f is not equal to our n. If this condition passes, then what you're going to do is simply s plus equals r n by f, right? And then here our first for loop terminates. So we say that if n is greater than the greater than or equal to the what's going on, s minus badness, and number is less than equal to s plus badness. If this condition matches, so what you're gonna do is you're gonna call std cout. Okay, here you're not gonna print the number. Here you're gonna do count plus plus, just simply plus it, and before getting out, you're gonna do is just give us that number. So std cout, and it says that total numbers are, how many numbers we got? We got whatever stored in count. So and L this, and here this. It makes sense. Okay. So what we just did, user will pass the arguments. If the second argument is not -1, this whole part will be discarded, and this program will be executed as we have already seen in the previous demonstration. Now, according to the fourth level, if the user passes the argument, the first argument is for the limit and the second argument is -1. This part will be executed, and after getting executed, we say exit 1. That means exit the code. Don't execute this one now. Got it? So let's try it out. Cannot use and L. Ignore that thing. Done. Anything else? Total. \n total. So a good thing. Two operators at the same time. Nothing. Okay. This is basically not a num. This is n and this is also n. Control C and let's. Okay. Now our program gets compiled. Let's test out the thing. If I passed it 0, you remember this thing? This will this should print two numbers, 6 and 28. So if it this, so it prints 6 28. Yes, program is executing. If we pass -1, so the result should be 2. It should be that total numbers are 2, and yes, total numbers are 2. So this is one of the things. Okay, our task is completed. This is the thing how we actually pass the arguments from terminal. Now let's quit this thing. Let's go with a thing where it says that we can actually set these arguments from build configuration of Clion. Now how we gonna do this? We're gonna go to run. We're gonna go to edit configurations. Click here. When we click here we have program arguments. Now first of all, go there, and it says if argument count is less than 2, we need 2 arguments. If this is the condition, you should cout, and that cout will be insufficient arguments. Done. It will say insufficient arguments and exit the code. Okay, let's see. If I execute this code right here, it says insufficient arguments because I didn't pass any arguments, neither from the command line or from build configurations. So I'm not using command line this time. I'm using go to run, edit configurations. Let's pass the program arguments. So the 2 arguments are 100 and 0. If I pass these 2 arguments, the result should be 6 and 28. So apply it, set it. Now again run this code, and this time we got the answer. So this is how we actually set our parameters from editing build configuration file. Now if we go to run and edit, and now this time I'm going to say -1. So the result should be 2. Save it and execute this thing. It says the total numbers are 2. So this is all in all. Thank you for watching video. I hope you get the whole idea, and I am not gonna put this whole file in the description right now because the code is pretty simple and you can actually pause the video and go read. And if still you got any questions, you got errors, anything, you can take a screenshot, drop that screenshot in the comment section. I will reply with a solution. Thanks mates. Goodbye.